y'all doing, everybody? Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, people of all ages. Welcome to Pop Culture Power on WCCU Radio, starring, of course, Brandon Hauser and my awesome co-host,
The GOAT, Erik Boseman.
yes, sir.
Yes.
That's your DJ now, just the GOAT.
I'm always the GOAT.
Of course, of course. Hold up. I'm just making sure that our recording setup is proper. Let's see here. Well, there are wiggly lines coming out, but they're not moving very fast. I mean, they're not moving very much.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, but we'll keep going.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, today's show, we're going to actually have a lot of focus on the September 11th attacks because, of course, the anniversary was this Monday. And I figured it would be an interesting topic just because of the fact that, September 11th was, a day, of course, that anyone who lived through it, they're not going to forget it. And it's a moment in history that, it impacts us all, right? I mean, some of the things that happened on that day, let me just say big changes were made. That's how I'll go with it. And we'll be talking about all the movies and TV shows and pop culture that was affected, as well as some where were you kind of stories. And also too, we'll also have some time to talk about the trailers that came out, things like Spider-Man 2, Aquaman, that Final Fantasy 7 trailer.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Avatar.
yeah, Avatar. Well, we don't have to. But,
Yeah, I'm going to.
Yeah, you can. I'm not gonna stop you. But for those who don't know, I'm a dedicated Avatar hater. I do not like that franchise, but that's a whole other story that maybe we'll talk about another time. Anyways, we're gonna talk about all that stuff. Today is actually an episode I really poured my heart into because although I don't really know anybody connected to the attacks, I will say it is a topic I'm interested in talking about, and something I really do want to show respect to the victims or anybody else affected by it or anyone else who lived through it, because what can I say? It's an important part of history, and it's history that it's like life-changing history that really didn't happen that too long ago,
Yeah, it's still pretty recent for, history terms.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was only 22 years ago.
Yeah.
I was really about to do some math in my head about that. That's the best. That's gonna be the best part about the 2020s. Just it doesn't take too long to calculate how long ago stuff happened. Yeah. But yeah, everybody. So strap yourselves in because we got a great show planned for y'all today. Pop culture power, y'all. So to start off our discussion on September 11th, I want to focus on how, in particular, the attacks changed popular culture at the time, and sometimes how it even changes pop culture to this day. So we'll get into that first. So, of course, the attacks, like I said, they changed everything here in the USA and around the world. And these changes, they really affected anything that was made for entertainment. My first example, the 2002 Spider-Man film. That was the first one made with starring Tobey Maguire, right? Of course, Eric and I are big fans.
Of course.
For the teaser trailer, there was a teaser trailer for that movie where Spider-Man captures two bank robbers in a helicopter between the Twin Towers using like a web. And that teaser had to be cut because of how similar it felt to the attacks. Also, any of the posters showing showing the Twin Towers reflected in Spider-Man's eyes had to be removed too. This one, of course, it makes sense, as we will see through a lot of these other changes. Of course, just people had to be sensitive towards the victims and the attacks because, people, they were seeing images of stuff being blown up and broken and exploded and images of death all the time back then. So, they had to be sensitive to that. Another interesting case, this actually might have almost affected the plot of the movie. This movie, The Bourne Identity, it's about a man who's on the run from the CIA. Now, there were fears that having the CIA as villains of the movie would have been seen as anti-American and therefore hurt box office sales in America. So to try and combat this, the movie had reshot quite a few scenes to try and, make the CIA more sympathetic or just have, tone that down a bit. But the movie's star, Matt Damon, and the movie's director, Doug Liman, they strongly protested those changes and they were left out the movie. Now, The Bourne Identity made $214 million at the box office, so I guess it shows, their fears really were, there's nothing to their fears,
Mm-hmm.
Here's another interesting one. This one's kind of messed, so the thriller film Final Destination, was removed from playing on airplane flights because it opens with a plane exploding over New York, which is kind of messed up in the first place. Like,
They put that on airplane flights?
yep,
Okay.
it's like watching the Titanic on a cruise. It's like,
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
See, going on to TV now, the sitcom Friends, which takes place in New York City. They didn't, of course, when the attacks happened, they didn't address the attacks on the show directly, but they did dedicate tributes to first responders and victims. In a few episodes made after the attacks, the characters can be seen wearing New York Police Department and New York Fire Department apparel. I think even the character Joey can be seen wearing a T-shirt of the name of a firefighter who died in the attacks. This also affected some of the episodes too. The episode, the one where Rachel tells, originally had a subplot where the characters Monica and Chandler, they try to board an airplane, and Chandler makes jokes about having a bomb on the plane after seeing a sign that told him not to. Of course, this storyline was dropped, and also, in addition to dropping that storyline, the producers had to stop using footage of the Twin Towers for the show. See, next here, Family Guy. We got another really interesting story about Family Guy also later, too, for the show. But there's a scene in a pre-9/11 episode of Family Guy that had to be removed because it featured Osama bin Laden singing to distract an airport security guard, which, is, again, another kind of, what's the word, very close to the attacks because, of course, the people, that hijacked the planes. Yeah. And Osama bin Laden was a part of the same organization as the hijackers were. As far as kids television goes as well, kids television actually faced more scrutiny in order to protect the target audience watching because while many other networks really were just airing news coverage of the attacks over and over again, kids networks like Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, Disney Channel, they were the safe harbor for kids to, have a safe environment and not have to look at all that all the time. And so, those channels aired their normal programming, but they did tone things down and make it more sensitive. For example, the SpongeBob episode, One More Bite, we saw this last night. It had to be censored after the attacks because there was a gag that featured Squidward walking into the Krusty Krab, and then a robot hand pours a bucket of gas on him and lights a match. Now, this one seems to be partly because of 9/11 and partly because, it's a little too, easy to imitate, A little too easy for kids to imitate.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, with Pokemon, there was a episode that featured a large Pokemon named Tentacruel destroying a large building and which caused the episode to be removed from TV. And there was even an episode of the show called Tower of Terror, which had to be cut just because of I don't think anything was wrong with the episode itself, but just because of the title, they couldn't air that episode.
Really? I mean, makes sense, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Video games, this might interest you a little bit. Eric, are you familiar with the series SimCity?
Yes.
So SimCity was a game where you could, of course, make your own city, and basically practice being a mayor.
Yep.
After the attack, also in the game, they have these little, disaster things you could do if you want to destroy your city in like a fun way.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could have Godzilla squish the city, or you could have aliens attack. You set things on fire, a flood. But after 9/11, they removed the plane crash disaster to, of course, not remind people of the attacks. This one's really unfortunate. So there was going to be a Sega Dreamcast game about dogfighting in planes that was supposed to be released September 19th, 2001. But due to the attacks, of course, that wasn't happening.
Wow, yeah.
Imagine working on a game for however long it took back then, just for like the whole thing to be canned, and just because, it was that close to it, Like
It's just unfortunate.
Yeah, man.
Can't do anything about it.
Exactly, bro. Also, the Xbox game Metal Wolf Chaos was it's going to be a game where you played as the president of the United States in a mecha armor suit, fighting rebel forces. It's very over the top, very cheesy, which is why I developed an underground following in the West. But originally, when the game came out, it couldn't be released in America. Microsoft didn't want to release it in America due to the political climate after 9/11, and so it didn't get released in America until like 2019. For a remaster.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So now you can play it on all consoles on Metal Wolf Chaos. I think it's called Metal Wolf Chaos XD if you want to play it on PlayStation, Xbox, and modern consoles. As far as music goes, so this is another interesting one. So, of course, the world of radio had to do its job to not remind people of the attacks either, which is why program directors around the country changed their playlists a lot after the attacks. Songs like God Bless the USA by Lee Greenwood, and Whitney Houston's rendition of the Star Spangled Banner were in a heavy rotation in the weeks after the attacks. A little side note here, Whitney Houston's version of the Star Spangled Banner, it is the greatest version of the national anthem I've ever heard. That's just my opinion. But moving on. Let's see. The largest owner of radio station at the time, Clear Channel, which is now called iHeartRadio, had a list of 150 songs that they suggested the DJs did not play. This list of songs basically included anything basically any song that had, themes of planes, violence, conflict, death, New York City, things like that really couldn't be on the air. For example, the song New York, New York by Frank Sinatra, September by Earth, Wind and Fire, and Bodies by Drowning Pool, in which the chorus is literally let the bodies hit the floor, which doesn't sound so nice in a post 9/11 context.
Yeah.
Those were on the list for songs that shouldn't be aired. Also, songs that were too joyful or happy were considered too inappropriate as well after the attacks. For example, the song Celebration by Kool and the Gang, they got a station in Washington, D.C. got complaints for playing that because it was considered, a little too celebratory after what happened. See. Also, the band Rage Against the Machine, their entire, literally every song they've ever made could not be played on the radio in the weeks after the attacks. Because they were considered too political of a band.
Oh. Which
might be, honestly, a little bit of a valid point. They are very, forget the system, forget, corporations, forget everything kind of band. Also related to music, the band Jimmy Eat World named their first album Bleed American, which, again, post 9/11, not a very good title, which is why they had to re-release the album they had to remove the title, making the album self-titled. Also, as well, another thing that happened during 9/11, actually, Jay-Z released his album The Blueprint, which, for him, that's got to feel weird because, you're releasing one of the biggest albums of your career, but also all this chaos and destruction is going on around you, So that's got to be just really a lot of mixed feelings,
Yeah.
Guess with these 20 seconds left. So yeah, with a lot of this, I find it very interesting, the whole entertainment side of how, entertainment had to change up in a post 9/11 world. And coming up next, we'll also talk about where were you type stories. So stick around. We'll be right back. Also coming up next, Charlie XEX. All right, y'all. Welcome back, WCCU Radio. So next we're going to do our Where Were You stories. Now, I'm going to start off with a couple stories about just regular, everyday average people. I got some of these from a Reddit thread on where people were talking about where they were when they first heard 9/11 was going down. So this first story comes from Sniper for Life. He says, quote, "The happiest place on earth, Disney World. From what my parents tell me, we were on the jungle safari ride where you're in a bus and the employee drives around the little reserve. The first sign that something was wrong was the woman driving it got a call on the radio and did a perfectly executed 3-point turn to get us back to the station. There was general chaos at the park, and my dad held infant me while my sister grabbed his belt and held on. We were stuck in Florida for 3 days before we got seats on an airplane back home. It was so old it had ashtrays, and it shook badly on takeoff. Oh, and my mom didn't watch me for a second, and I got my arm stuck in an automatic door at the airport, which then prompted every 3-letter agency to come out the woodwork to get me out. So that was fun." Man, so imagine you're hearing 9/11's going on, and you're on a plane that doesn't seem too, stable itself. That's got to be pretty scary.
Did they have to use old planes because of what happened?
Maybe, because, once 9/11 happened, of course, people that day were not getting a flight nowhere.
Yeah, yeah. I think they shut off all the airports.
And driving by car, of course, wouldn't be very efficient either because I'm sure traffic was back-to-back everywhere.
Yeah.
So this next story, the username has a swear word in it, but you can guess which one. Full Metal B Word on Reddit. In my high school homeroom in Texas, my dad was supposed to be at the restaurant at the top of one of the towers for a business meeting. He was super excited since he'd never been there. However, the meeting was moved to their office in White Plains, New York the night before. Something to do with something scheduling conflict, I believe. I didn't know that, however, and immediately lost it. I begged my teacher to excuse me from class so I could call my mom. He kept refusing, so I just walked out and went to the principal's office to make the phone call. We didn't find that my dad was okay until that night because the phone lines were tied up everywhere. Since all flights had been grounded for the foreseeable future, my dad ended up renting one of the only remaining cars in the area and driving 1,600 plus miles home.
My goodness.
9/11 was the longest day of my life, and I'm so lucky I didn't lose my father. However, it was the worst day of many people's lives and the last day for approximately 3,000. Well said, Full Metal. Yeah, that teacher is a jerk, dude. Well, you know what? I'm gonna hold off on calling him a jerk. And the reason why is that it's very possible that the phone, either something was going on at the phone lines at the time, or they're overwhelmed. Maybe that could be why she couldn't call them at the time. But then again, the principal's phone worked. So
Did they know? Did they get the info
yeah, they gave her.
while they're at school?
They did what?
Did they get the info about what happened while they were at the school?
Yes, they were able to call on the principal's phone. The story said, or actually no. I'm sorry, I'm rereading the story again. They didn't find out their dad was okay until that night because the phone lines were tied up everywhere, which might have been why the teacher said no. But I think the principal at least let her try it on his phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, man, that's got to be a scary situation. You think one of your relatives might be in a building that collapsed.
Yeah.
Also, little known fact about the World Trade Center too. There was a restaurant at the top of the building that is no more. That's too bad. I wish that sounds like a cool thing. I wish I kind of could have gotten to experience that. So moving on to celebrity stories. This one I got from IMDb.com. This one is Robert De Niro's experience with 9/11. He says, quote, I left a meeting right after they hit the World Trade Center. I went to my apartment, which looked south, and I watched it out of my window. I could see the line of fire across from the North Tower. I had my binoculars and a video camera, though I didn't want to video it. I saw a few people jump. Then I saw the South Tower go. It was so unreal. I had to confirm it by immediately looking at the television screen. CNN was on. That was the only way to make it real. Like my son said, it was like watching the moon fall. Man, that last quote, it was like watching the moon fall. I think what makes that just an interesting quote to me is that I'm sure for a lot of people, it's one of the biggest landmarks, and it's just gone. That's crazy. And
It'll probably just be surreal too. Like you'll probably be just thinking like, there's no way this just happened.
Exactly, dude. I think a lot of people when they first saw the news coverage, they thought it was a movie instead of like real life.
Yeah.
Oh, this next one is actually about Michael Jackson's experience. So according to his older brother Jermaine, Michael was supposed to have a meeting at the top of the building, at the top of one of the Twin Towers. But lucky for him, Michael overslept and missed the meeting because he was talking with his mother and his siblings on the phone. That's a nice little story. And also afterwards, of course, his mother called him to make sure he was okay. And Michael's like, yes, mother, I was talking to you. That's why I missed the meeting. Oh man. Let's see. Next here is Seth MacFarlane. So Seth MacFarlane, the creator of Family Guy, American Dad, and The Cleveland Show, was supposed to be on the flight that got hijacked. Thanks to a hangover, he missed the flight. He was quoted from, I think, Mirror.com for saying, he said that I was booked on the flight and I was drinking the night before and hung over and missed the plane by about 10 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
It was a very close call for me. In another CNN interview about it, he said that he took a nap in the airport and was awoken to the horrible news. After seeing the footage of the flight he was supposed to be on crash into the North Tower, he told an airport bartender about it and got a free shot for his troubles. Forget a shot. I'd want the whole bottle, bro.
That is insanely close.
Right? Just, again, he missed the flight by 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's insane.
It really is, man. When it comes to these 9/11 stories, of course, I like asking people, just people who are in my life, teachers, friends, family, where they were. I think the story I can remember is, I think my mom, at the time, she was a school nurse, right? And so I think at the time, I think she was sitting in her office when my aunt called her, and she was like, "Yo, turn on the TV. Something's going on." And she turned on the TV, and of course, she sees what's going on. She sees, I think she said she saw the first tower get hit, and of course, because of the school, that a lot of kids had to or had their parents, take them home, of course, because such a tragic event, such a sad day. You're probably gonna want to be with your kids and explain to them what's going on. You know. You know what I mean? Eric, what you thinking right now, man? Yeah,
I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's just, man, I couldn't imagine like being in New York when that joint happened, or thinking that or having a parent that worked in the buildings. You know?
Do you know? Do you know? Because I remember my old elementary schools having like TVs in the classroom, but we never used them. So you think, I don't know if there was like show the kids in the classroom, but like some of the teachers and stuff.
Some of the stories I have read said that some kids did watch the news coverage while they were in school, which I think there has been some regret over that because of how dark and tragic those images were. But yeah, I think some TVs were capable of doing that.
And also, it's making me think about the teachers that also have kids that will probably have to leave their work just to go pick them up too.
Yeah, man.
Like it's just crazy.
I wouldn't be surprised if some schools, some districts, canceled the school day for a couple of days,
Yeah.
Just because, as a kid trying to just wrap your head around that's got to be a really big ask, It's like, what's another one I remember? I remember one of my journalism teachers, which one was it? But anyways, he tells me that I think that day he was just hanging out at the beach with a friend when I guess he I think heard about it either on the radio or he found out some other way, had to go straight to work to doing journalism. And in journalism, of course, something like that, that's back-to-back work, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I want to find out which teacher told me that. Because I want to give him credit. I don't want to just jack his story. We'll see here. Pitlock, actually. Yes, Professor Pitlock. Shout out to him. But yeah, let's see the last 50 seconds. I want to say, to anyone who just blessings and prayers for anyone, this week who lost a loved one during those days. I'm sure it's been a pretty hard week for you. Respect to your family and all that. And respect to all the first responders too. Like that,
Yeah, they the real heroes that day, man.
Nerves of steel, dog.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in a building where there's jet fuel down the elevator. Like that's insane. One last story out. The last story I will wait to the next segment because we only have about 10 seconds. I don't think even I could talk that fast.
You could.
No, I couldn't. I'm not Eminem. But we're gonna wrap this up for my radio people. Next, it's Kip Moore. All right, y'all. To wrap out the 9/11 segment, there is one last story I wanted to tell. So this story actually was something I heard about from a Spike Lee documentary. So unfortunately I can't remember the names. I'm sorry about that. But there's this man who was he basically cleaned all of the stairs in the World Trade Center. I think it was just for one of the buildings, but think about how many floors that is. That's like at least 100 floors. It's a lot, is my point I'm trying to make. And on September 11th, that day, he actually called out for work. But his boss asked him to come in that day because nobody else was willing to do his job. I don't think anybody else in the world is willing to do that job except for him. But either way, I think also that day he happened to have one of the only keys in the building, which means, him coming in that day basically saved a lot of people because he was able to unlock doors and whatnot, make sure people were getting out safely, So, like I said, 9/11, I find it a very interesting moment in history and very recent moment in history, which is why, I enjoy is not the word. I guess I'm fascinated by it. I do. I appreciate Eric for helping me out here, talk about it and discuss, that day. And so, you think anything else you want to say before we move on to the trailers?
I would just add though that it did affect sports leagues too.
Oh yeah,
I know the NFL had like the next 2 weeks after that attack, they moved the games to the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I think a minor league series was canceled.
Yeah.
MLB had games canceled. It just affected a lot of things.
Oh yeah. I think the soccer UEFA Championship League. Actually, those players wore black armbands in respect, even though I think a lot of those guys weren't from America. So shout out to them too.
That's good.
Yep. But I guess I want to end this show on a lighter note. So for our last segment, we'll talk about the new trailers that came out. Yes, man. Whole bunch came out. So hey, why don't you?
I will start it off.
Okay, yeah, start me off, bro.
Best one I've seen. I'm gonna start with my number one
Okay.
favorite that I've seen. It was Aquaman.
Really?
Lost Kingdom. Yes, that trailer looked phenomenal. I'm not gonna lie.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, I know the movie hasn't come out yet. I think it's gonna be one of DC's best films.
Okay.
I'm not even a big fan of Aquaman in general.
Let's be real. Not a lot of people are.
Fair, but it looked good. And of course, I think the main villain in this one's gonna be Black Manta, and his suit looks very clean too. In their fighting, just the environments too. It's just everything looked great about it. I don't know if you've seen it or your thoughts on Aquaman. Have you seen the first one?
I did see. It was a while ago. I saw the first one.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. Was, it was a good like popcorn movie. It's serviceable, but hopefully this one raises the stakes a little.
I think DC got something coming.
Oh, yeah.
It looked good.
I'm telling you, bro. DC movies are getting better. Like I don't care what nobody say. The Flash was amazing. Blue Beetle looks good too, bro. Like James Gunn is cooking right now, bro. He's really cooking right now.
I think that's the director, right?
No, James Gunn right now. He's kind of like the head of DC movies right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he used to direct for Marvel though. He directed Guardians of the Galaxy, and he wrote Scooby Doo for those who don't know that. But I think this movie, as far as I don't, me, I don't know like talking about box office, but I am curious on how this one's gonna do, because people these days like I think The Flash was kind of hurt by Urza Miller and their whole legal issues, and this movie, Amber Heard does play a minor role as Mira.
I did. It was like a 0.5 second. I couldn't even tell if it was her or not. It looked like Mara.
Yeah,
because I think she had red hair, but it was like 0.5 seconds in the trailer. They just moved on.
I swear, bro, if you're gonna be in a superhero movie, like these days, they're gonna give you a full background search, bro. Full background search, maybe a full body cavity search, because they're not playing no more, bro. Marvel, they got messed over with what's that guy's name? He just did something silly recently too. He played
Marvel.
Yeah, he played King the Conqueror. Let's see,
Oh,
Jonathan Majors.
yeah.
Yes, they recently released a video apparently of him breaking up a fight that looks so fake on TMZ, but we'll talk about that another time.
Okay.
But yeah, I really hope Aquaman does well, because DC maybe need a W, bro. They deserve a W that the people will acknowledge.
Not the Flash. Aquaman's it. But
The Flash was dope. Yeah, I just get closer to my. Yes, I did.
it's okay. You can cope.
I think you're coping, sir.
But the other trailer I did see was, I'm gonna do this one real quick. Was Kraven the Hunter?
Wait, there's a trailer for that?
Yeah.
Oh,
and I don't think there's a rating for it. From what the trailer said, but people are speculating that it might be a rated R movie. There was a lot of blood in it, bro. Kraven looked like a monster. He was Kraven Kills. Like, he was insane.
I'm not seeing that movie.
I wouldn't either.
I refuse.
But this goes into my next point, because yesterday PlayStation released State of Play, which they show updates or any information about new games. And we did get more information about the Spider-Man 2 game coming out, in which, in my opinion, it's either probably going to be Game of the Year, or at least a very top contender for it.
Game of the decade,
bro.
The millennia.
They added 2 new boroughs to the game.
Game of existence.
Game of existence. They added 2 new boroughs to the game with Queens and Brooklyn. So now it's not just going to be just the city. It's going to add suburbs too. So it's going to give a whole new environment to play in. And they also have a carnival, I believe, too, from what they shown.
Lord have mercy. Give me a second, Attic. Bro.
What's wrong?
That game's going to be... I am so looking forward to that game, bro.
I know.
I need that by any means necessary.
Got to get that PS5, man.
Any means necessary, bro.
Comes out October 20th, I believe.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And don't forget, too, the smooth, the fast travel transitions.
Yeah. Oh,
they look almost instantaneous.
Instantaneous character change.
Yes.
With different animations for when you switch to the character. It look
65 new costumes. Like, bro.
Yes.
You couldn't... I mean, you could ask for more, but...
There could be more.
And that's the thing. Actually, yeah, you're right. There could be more of this game. Like that's the craziest part. You know,
From what they said, because the costumes were made, some of them were original, some of them were from movies, and then some of them were from comics. So
and they're customizable too.
yes,
Bro.
different color. From what they show, some of the suits will have different colorways. So it will look interesting.
Absolute, bro. Also, so I want to move back a little bit to Kraven the Hunter. Let me roast this Goofy right quick because, bro, Sony, for those who don't know, they're trying to start another cinematic universe of Spider-Man characters, but they're not using Spider-Man, which means basically they're just making movies out of his villains. Kraven the Hunter apparently is like an animal lover in this version of the movie, which doesn't make sense because he's covered in animal fur.
Wait, movie? Wait,
Kraven the Hunter is going to be a movie.
no, I know, but I didn't see any animal lover from it.
Maybe, you know what? That is something I heard about before, like official stuff came out, so I could be wrong on that.
I just didn't hear about it. You could be right.
I could be wrong too. But,
The Spider-Man villains without Spider-Man.
and look, don't get me wrong. I enjoyed the Venom movies.
Yeah.
You know, that was a fluke though. They got to stop doing this. Like, you know, yeah, flukes don't always happen twice, but trust me, Sony, they do.
Is there a good Spider-Man villain movie without Spider-Man in it?
Venom
That's the best one?
2, yeah.
Ah,
Yeah, because remember, Morbius, which was garbage.
yeah.
And like I said, they're making a bunch more. They're making Black Cat, Silver Sable. They're literally doing a movie about a character who was in like one comic book and never showed up again.
Wait, Silver Sable was short?
No, not her. It's like a Mexican wrestler character. It was gonna star Bad Bunny, but he, you know,
Oh, Bane.
yeah, I mean, you know, it was gonna star him, but I guess he gained common sense or something and just left the project.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, you know, yeah, I'm hating a little bit, but you know, maybe he will be good. Who knows? I will say Aaron Taylor Johnson. I've seen him in stuff before. He was Quicksilver in the MCU, and he was in the Kick Butt movies. It's not called Kick Butt, by the way. I had to say that for radio. Yeah.
You know what? Maybe Kraven will get a little bit of help with the Spider-Man 2 game since he is in that game too. Maybe not as much as people as they would like, but it might get a little bit of traction.
Oh yeah.
If the game helps out a little bit.
Oh yeah. I know what. There are a couple other trailers came out there, right? Final Fantasy 7.
Final Fantasy 7 remakes. I don't really know much about the Final Fantasy lore or anything.
We got about 20 seconds, so I guess we'll try to save that for the next one.
Okay.
But I know that came out.
Avatar game came out.
Avatar game. Oh, more hating to do. Anyways, and Tomb Raider. So we'll be talking about the rest of the trailers and closing out the show. So yeah. All right, y'all. So wrap out the trailer conversation. Let's turn that computer down. Thank you. Anyways, so let's see. There's a trailer for Final Fantasy 7, right?
Yeah.
People were hype about one character in the game. I don't remember. It's voiced by Matt Mercer. I don't remember his name though. But Twitter, he was like the number 2 trending topic on Twitter. Like people were excited.
Is it Sephiroth?
No.
Not Cloud?
No.
No.
I mean, they wouldn't get
It's a new character?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a character that wasn't seen before.
Oh. I won't know their name then.
Honestly, me neither. But yeah, this new Final Fantasy game is based off Final Fantasy 7.
Yep.
It's the second part of the Final Fantasy 7 remake, I guess. Which is weird. They split it into like 3 games, but I mean, I guess it's more efficient storytelling.
I was watching it. I was trying to figure out what they were trying to do.
Oh yeah.
It's confusing.
Final Fantasy Rebirth won't let you import your OP remake characters. Oh,
What?
and you can't use your old save.
Yep. Buy the new game, man.
Oh, another dude. They're remaking the first 3 Tomb Raider games, bro. And I am so happy about that. And let me tell you why. Because those older games are like an important part of video game and PlayStation legacy as a whole. And so just the fact that they're going to remaster it, improve the controls and all that, little touch up to the graphics, that means the world to me, man. Because I really want to be able to like experience those games, like how great those games were, like the same way that gamers back then did, bro. Because you know me, I'm a retro game fanatic, man.
Yes,
I
you
love
are.
playing old games, bro.
Yes, you are.
Yes, sir. Like people whine, oh, these graphics don't look realistic.
The gameplay is good, man.
Yes, sir.
In the story,
that's
too.
all I care about. Gameplay and sound quality.
I'm adding story because Last of Us 2 exists.
And story. Yeah, of course.
And for those who like Horizon Zero Dawn and Far Cry, you got to mix of that with Brandon's hating the game of Avatar. It looked decent.
I don't hate the game of Avatar. I hate the whole franchise. Get it right.
Like the Smurfs? Smurfs?
Smurfs are dope.
What's wrong? What did Avatar do?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm just mad. It's like one of the highest grossing movies of all time. Yet the plot is like nobody can tell me much about that movie, even though it's like one of the highest grossing ever. It's like, come on, yo.
That's a fair point.
Like, yeah, it looks good, but what's the movie like?
It's about blue people, man.
I'm gonna need more than that. Smurfs is better. Unironically, I would rather watch Alvin and the Chipmunks than Avatar.
Alvin's goated. I would take Alvin over Avatar too.
The whole 4-part trilogy.
Shout out to my boy Dave, man.
All right, y'all. Thank y'all so much for listening today. Again, I will be posting this whole podcast on the Nostalgia Man YouTube channel and Brandon Hauser Facebook.